Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Netters Network Thursday Things. I almost said retro cinema. Tonight we have a very special guest waiting in the green room. But before we bring him in, let's introduce my co-host for the evening. You know, miss, that guy at the end of the bar, the love of my life, Troy Pacelli. How you doing tonight, sweetie? And what are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on Diet Dr. Pepper. Thank you very much. Looking very forward to when I can add some crack into this because it's been a week.
Tell me about it. Yeah, work has been fun. I'm trying to get caught up on stuff because I'm out all next week from work for the Thanksgiving holiday, and I'm working on a basement reno project that I've been wanting to do for a while. So it's like trying to get everything cleared up. Well, I found out today that someone he's not in my department, but he does work that kind of affects work that I do, was just let go with no warning. Supposedly, like the sales team and all that have been talking about reorging for a couple of years now, and they decided to eliminate his position, just his. And apparently he didn't see it coming because I figured, oh, well, they've been talking about this for a while. They probably gave him a heads up. Hey, we're doing this reorg. It might affect your position or something. No. At 12:30, like 12:32, he had sent out an email saying, hey, any updates for the newsletter, send them by this time. By 1 o'clock, he was gone. And we got the news at 1:15. It's like, wow, that's cold. So yeah, it's been a week. So hopefully I get caught up on everything by tomorrow. I actually want to do it by noon tomorrow so I can take the afternoon off. So hopefully I'll get that all done, and then I can actually enjoy next week and not have to worry about things not being finished. Also joining us tonight is I'm calling him my SME co-host because he knows more about anime than me or Troy. H Boomer, how you doing tonight, sweetie? And what are you sipping on?
Oh, I just have a water. I didn't think it was going to be anything fancy. They have water in Japan, though, from what I hear. So that's keeping it with the theme.
Water. Is it fancy water?
I hear they're surrounded by it.
No, it's filtered from the refrigerator in my tin water bottle here. So there we go. So that's what I have. But
okay, I know I saw somebody else pop into the chat. I was going to say hello, and now I'm not seeing them.
I wouldn't dare be drinking a boba tea on the stream. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. No, let's not go there anyway.
I just lost my.
Yeah, we talked all about that.
Yes, but the anime. We'll be talking about that tonight. I may ask our guest how he got into it. That might be an interesting topic. Of course, maybe you've already talked about that.
We'll definitely be talking about that. Okay, what the heck happened to my YouTube stream? Or my YouTube? My YouTube seems to have closed down on me. I need to reopen my YouTube. I mean, StreamYard's nice, but I can't really say hello to people in StreamYard because it never works out the same.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Well,
open.
I can open your stream too. There we go.
There we go. I got it open too. There we go.
Okay. So does that mean y'all are thumbsing me up?
As a matter of fact, yes.
I was lucky number 7. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Well, let us say hello to the chat. First in, which is pretty much right after I posted the stream, was JPRPH1. And he's dropping my emojis, which come up as Netters Net, Smolder, Retro Scent, and Smile on the StreamYard side. And then he says, howdy. There's that Netters person saying hi to people in here. FKHC 2005 saying hello. That's the one I didn't see in my chat, so I got to drop that in real quick. See, I can spell. My sweetie. Let's see, who else do we got? We have Curtis Selby saying hello. And also saying hi to John and Tim. Connie Cleary saying hello in the chat. Let's see. Not much got jumped. Darkwood Presents saying hello. How you doing, sweetie? I know I saw other peeps. Big L Presents. Hello, my friends. Hope you're having a great evening. Well, we are now that I'm no longer working.
Yeah.
Well, working for the day. I don't want to not be working right. Permanently. Deleted Scenes giving his salute and then saying to like, share, and subscribe. Let's see who else we got here. Space Preggle. Troy, how you doing, sweetie? And I'm scrolling. Hey, I know this guy. We got to keep an eye on this one. Hey, this name looks really familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Along with Lester San Jose, the Skeptic Tank. And speaking of this guy, let me introduce to you my guest for tonight, Brandon, the anime guy. How you doing tonight, sweetie? And what are you sipping on?
Hello, everyone. And I splurged just a little bit. I've got cherry Coke, not diet, but the real thing.
Wow, high octane.
High fructose corn syrup, yeah.
I got that at a Perkins on Sunday. I had a cherry Coke with my BLT. Yes.
Very nice. Yeah, I was like, the diet stuff is mostly fine, but yeah, I felt like going fully leaded tonight, so I've just been enjoying
Fully
that
leaded.
for the last little bit.
There you
And
go.
I think I missed Darth Plato, so hello, Darth Plato. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anybody else that came in last minute. Okay. So, anime. I know nothing about it. That's why we got Boomer here.
Okay. Anime, as I understood it, growing up, is animated shows, televisions made for video series known as OVAs over there, or OAVs, depending on who you talk to, that are made primarily for a Japanese audience and animated typically at a lower frame rate due to budgetary constraints back in the day. And that's what I grew up understanding. But I kind of look at it as a genre into and of itself, though I do still consider it part of the animation family. But that was my understanding of it growing up. They used to call it Japanimation back in the 90s, or Japanese animation, and then it became known as anime later on. But maybe Brandon has a different definition.
I've seen Dragon Ball Z.
There you go.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball is fun. No, that's pretty accurate across the board. Although with the Japanese, anime is animation, and anything that's animated they consider anime. But for us, anime specifically does connotate stuff made in Japan by the Japanese, typically for the Japanese. Most of the time, a show or an OVA series or a movie derived from either a light novel or a manga or comic book series, typically.
Right.
But yeah, it's big business.
Now, it's my understanding that when they show these things in Japan, it's a lot more violent, and they tone it down to show in the U.S. Is that right?
Depends.
I remember the early days of Toonami when they were showing Tenchi Muyo. Some of the women's bathing suits that were more revealing in Japan would be covered up more, and then sometimes the nudity would also be blocked off, though I always considered it kind of silly because it's like looking at a Barbie doll, but they would cover that up for American television. But nowadays, I don't even know how much of that stuff even shows up in the stuff made in Japan at this point. But maybe Brandon.
Wait a minute, I have a question.
Yes.
When you say that it was like a Barbie doll, does that mean it was like blank?
No nip.
Well,
okay, so literally like
not so defined. I'll put it to you that way. I don't know if it's as bad as a Barbie doll, but not also as
by pixelating or blurring, you actually make it worse because the mind assumes a greater level of detail.
Yes, well, they would put these things on during, hours, commercial television on cable. They're going to put a bikini or a top on.
The reason I bring that up is because I just posted yesterday the clip of us talking about Wicked and the snafu from Mattel. And the clip that I did made it look as though Ariana Grande was exposed by pixelated. And I realized as I did it, I'm like, this looks really bad. But I went with it anyway.
Yeah, that's about as big a boo boo as as I think you can make. And yeah, someone didn't do their job, and it's funny. It's hilarious because I don't think the Wicked thing is gonna be that good, but yeah,
I'm hearing from a lot of people we kind of got off topic here, but as long as we're on it, I've been hearing just today from people in the fan community. Okay, so we always talk about, like, you guys, anime, a lot of us, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. We're the super fans, right? Well, there are super fans of Broadway musicals in general and Wicked in particular. And I happen to be one of those, but I was of the mind I'm not going to be seeing this because, as a fan of other fandoms that have been burned by stupidity, I know enough not to get burned. But I'm hearing a lot of people in that community saying they're still really looking forward to it. They can't wait, blah, 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 this and that. They're excited about the marketing. I'm like, okay, good on you guys.
Oh, they haven't been burned. Not to the same extent as what most other fandoms have been.
I'm afraid they might be. We'll see.
Well, I know that the movie exists, but who's the distributor on it?
I don't know. Let me take a
Universal, I believe. Universal Studios.
Universal? Oh, yes, it is Universal Picture. Okay.
They've been big on the musical adaptations. They did Cats a few years ago.
Just don't go to wicked.com. That's the wrong webpage.
Okay, yes.
The wrong version, the wrong Wicked, yeah. Yeah. Typically,
yeah, it is.
Universal doesn't normally screw things up on their marketing. Not like how the companies that shall not be named because they suck so bad. It'll probably do okay, but at least for me, when you start having your main actors or actresses coming out and acting the way they do, it doesn't typically bode well. But this one might be the exception.
It may be, yeah.
We had been over the past couple of weeks. We've been talking about this a little bit on Geeky Geezers, and I did say, to her credit, Ariana Grande has done a great job of keeping her mouth shut, and when she does say something, it's been fairly, marketable,
innocuous.
But politically savvy, right? Whereas I just found out the other day that this Cynthia Erivo, she's the one that played the Blue Fairy in the Pinocchio live action film.
What?
Yeah, she was the Blue Fairy.
Blue Fairy. I thought that's who that was. Yes.
Yep. That's exactly who
she
it was.
She was also Harriet Tubman in the Tubman movie that came out, which I didn't see.
Well, 1 for 3, she's, because you gotta have the proper representation. If you're gonna cast a Blue Fairy, you better get a Blue Fairy. Just saying. If you're gonna get a green woman, it really should have been a green woman, right?
I remember the Blue Fairy from Once Upon a Time, and then she showed up as Norman Bates' sexy teacher on Bates Motel the first season, which I thought was interesting.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
His
first victim, as I recall.
Yes. But I don't...
I got you off topic. Get back to the anime.
Has there ever been an anime adaptation of The Wizard of Oz? Not to my knowledge, but...
Let me take a quick
that would be awesome.
You'd be surprised what shows up adapted into anime. A lot of, in fact, Studio Ghibli has adapted a lot of popular Western children's novels, like Howl's Moving Castle. They did that one.
Yeah.
But
anything Studio Ghibli is typically fantastic, as long as it's done by Miyazaki. If it's done by his son, it's hit or miss. No. But the old man himself does a good job. And actually, yes, there is The Wizard of Oz and The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
I thought, okay, so maybe
Yep.
back in the day it was adapted. Like, is this like the
1982 and
Okay.
1986.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's what I can watch instead of this upcoming Universal movie. It's probably
Yeah.
more true to the source material, I would expect, but unless there's a mecha in it, maybe.
I don't know. I'm
No
kind of
mecha.
thinking I want to see her I want to see Dorothy pull out a katana and go to town on some of those
Become a
goblin guards.
magical girl or
Yeah.
something. Just yes.
The wizard is like a real wizard,
Yeah. But I'm trying to think, though. You were mentioning before we went live, I was a little horrified that apparently Disney is going to be adapting Cat's Eye into an anime, which I'm a big fan of Cat's Eye. I watched both seasons of the original from the 80s. I watched the Lupin Cat's Eye crossover that was on Amazon because I'm a big Lupin the Third fan. I was like, oh, this is like a world's finest, like when Batman met Superman, Lupin the Third meeting Cat's Eye. So, but I'm a little taken aback now just because Disney's in charge. Maybe they'll just let the Japanese studios do their own thing and leave them alone. But that's wishful thinking, isn't it?
Well, out of all the corpos, the big bad corpo is Sony. They've got their tentacles and tendrils into things and places that are typically reserved for hentai, as opposed to regular things. So
they own a lot, Troy. Yeah.
Sony unfortunately, they own way too much, and because they are being ran by Western woke wanker butt buddies. The amount of censorship that has been popping up, it's caused problems, and it looks pretty terrible. But I'll reserve judgment on this new version of Cat's Eye that's supposed to be coming out next year. But at the same time, it's still Disney Plus. It's one of those things. Do I watch it on Disney Plus? No. Do I go put on my, become Luffy and put on my straw hat and go sailing to the Grand Line? Since it's Disney Plus, probably not. I don't even want to give them the satisfaction of going yo ho 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 and bottle of rum.
Well,
where's the rum?
Right.
So. I'll tell you, I've said this about many things. I said I will not support Disney Plus for anything, and I would go to the high seas for stuff that I was interested in. And after the stuff I was interested started to get crappy, I'm like, it's not even worth the bandwidth. It's not even worth the bandwidth, So I have commonly started. Let me wait and find out. Let me see what all my friends say about it first before I bother to check it out. But so what exactly is Disney's role in this? Are they just distributing it, or are they involved in the production of it?
Mostly distribution, because everything else that they show sucks. As you know, the single most watched thing on their whole entire streaming platform is Bluey. They have no control over it at all, except for what episodes they'll air.
That's a British series, correct?
Australian.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was British.
It's an Australian series, and it is about the only thing that keeps that service from sinking that platform completely into the depths of Satan's butthole. So
are you thinking that maybe that's going to be the same model here? They're just going to be licensing someone else's product?
I would be surprised. I would be surprised if it actually showed up on Disney Plus here. Outside of the US, that's their primary platform. Most of the stuff, if they do have it on Disney Plus, or if they don't want to have to worry about it, they'll toss it to Hulu. But here next year, it's probably just going to be all one big gigantic happy special Japanese family, a special hentai family of a platform. But yeah,
I get what you mean.
But all the companies are getting involved. I'd heard that Netflix, for whatever reason, is doing a new adaptation of Ram the One Half, which which made no sense to me, as the original anime is very beloved. Why adapt that? It's been done. Do something new.
Partially the same trappings. It's Netflix, and Netflix Netflix has done a lot of good stuff with some of the stuff that they've been getting and what they've been licensing.
Right.
But at the same time, it's still Netflix, and they have the tendencies to do things weird. But someone decided that it was a good idea to do it. They got Studio Mappa to animate it, and from that standpoint, the animation's good. Choice in colors and how they're telling the story, it's a little more pastel in their color rendition than the original. And they are censoring things that were not censored in the original. Now,
is Rumiko Takahashi still alive, the author?
Yes, and she's involved, and she's on record as saying that she's looking forward to all the fight scenes, which I can see. I've watched the first season and a half of the original Ranma, and I remember it very vividly. And I've been watching this release because it just started this season. It pretty much is the same story. There've been some changes here and there, but if the original anime was completed, I would say no way, no what, no how. But I have a feeling that this one's going to get completed. This one is actually going to complete the manga.
Okay. All right. I did watch quite a few episodes of back in the day. Never been kind of all over the place with that, but my brother used to get the VHS tapes, which were subtitled. When you bought VHS tapes subtitled, a lot more money than buying the dubs back in the old days. And this is like 2 episodes per tape. They didn't give you 4.
$30.
Yep, ridiculous. Okay, you remember, yes. And I just don't know. And of course, they're going to censor the nudity, even though that's ridiculous because it's.
Well, let me give you. It's the Barbie doll thing again.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Ranma, here's the basic premise. He and his father have been training around the world in martial arts. They go to the Lake of Woes, or the Thousand Lake of Woes in China to do training. If someone falls into one of these lakes, whatever woe is upon that is what they get cursed with. With Ranma, he falls. Ranma Satome falls into the lake of Drowned Girl.
Yes.
So whenever he is splashed with cold water, he turns into a she, and he's shameless about using the feminine body and wiles to get what he wants, even though he hates it when he's in his female form, and he wants to get the curse lifted, but he's not above using it to his advantage. In the original series, they didn't censor the nip, they didn't do the Barbie doll thing, but they didn't go any further south than the upper region. But at the same time, there's one scene where Ron was getting out of the tub after his hot shower. In the original, they drew his crack. He was anatomically correct. They didn't do that with this one. They still had the joke that was part of it, which is him and Akane and their rough relationship. But it's just these little changes here and there that are highly annoying. And of course, because we're now in modernity, you have the troons that are like, oh, this show's for me. It shows what you can be.
No.
And it's like, no.
No, they missed the point entirely.
They missed the point since the 80s. But it's worse now because of our current hyper-politicized environment.
Yeah.
And of course, because we are in modernity, there is one character that shows up a lot more in the anime than what they did in the manga, from my understanding, who is a hyper hentai pervert. He loves the underpants.
Yes,
he loves
I know
stealing
who you're
the
talking.
underpants.
Pacelli, correct? That was his name, I believe. Yes.
And of course, all the usual rag media outlets are like, yeah, this show can finally fix the biggest problem with Ranma, the perv.
But the show
it's like
never...
that's part of the charm. That's part of the funny, because he is so over the top and he gets his ass whooped every time.
The show never condoned his actions.
Yeah.
He always gets slapped around.
You got to remember that the modernity he's talking about is the same ones that are forcing the trigger warning about the National Socialist Germans as the villains in an Indiana Jones game, saying, we don't condone that.
Good Lord.
Oh, really? You don't condone the villains and what they do? Okay.
Here's all I'm gonna say. Microsoft is bitch made, Sony is bitch made, and Nintendo can go do stuff to themselves in places that I won't say on this channel. But
Sideways.
they all
With a hot
suck. They all
poker.
drive me crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
don't get
think
me
Nintendo
demonetized.
drives me the least crazy, but yeah. Uh, but yeah, they all have their issues. But Sashi's making a point about my Pat Labor avatar. Yes, Sashi, I
Yes.
big fan of Pat Labor. Got into it through the movies on VHS back in the day because I typically started watching anime by purchasing movies because the TV shows were too insurmountable as far as I was concerned. So I got the Pat Labor the movie 1 and 2. I eventually later on got the OVA, and since then I've gotten the entire series. I originally bought the series on DVD when it came out, but then they released this very nice Blu-ray set with everything in it, and I
Yes,
have
they
watched
did.
the series from front to back, and it's an excellent series about a near future in the late 90s. Okay, where they use mechs to do construction work called labors, and unfortunately, because of that, there's labor crimes. So the Tokyo Police Department has to set up a Pat Labor division where they have 2 labors that are operated by police officers, and the team that the show follows are a bit of the misfit police officers. So it's a lot of
Yes.
fun. Yes.
Oh yes. And just remember that Ota remains undefeated.
I love Ota. He's I'll put it this way, Troy Netter. Oda is the hothead in the group, the one who's always trigger happy and makes a situation worse when he could be calming it down as a police officer.
Oh yeah.
And then there's Knucka Clancy, who's more calm and logical. She's almost like the Spock of the group, but not completely. Obviously, she's not completely logical, but she was from America. She was Japanese American from Hawaii, I believe, and she was training with the Tokyo division to train a Pat Labor division in New York City. I remember that. So yeah, but classic series. Love the movies too. But yeah, I don't know if it's my favorite anime, but it's up there with them. But
It's a good one.
yeah,
It is a good one.
and you would
They,
mention they're doing a follow up. Is that right?
yeah, I do have it shared here if you want to bring it up. This was actually reported on by Forbes. There's been rumblings and grumblings about this for forever, but I guess it's finally happening. Pat Labor Easy Y is finally happening and coming out in 2026. So following the very brief Pat Labor reboot animation, it's now finally confirmed that this anime is finally on its way. It'll be coming out in 2026. Directed by Yutaka Izubichi. Let's see, yeah, Izubushi. The new anime will feature many of the original headgear staff. Now, that's cool.
That's positive. Okay, yes.
Yeah, that is a positive. So let's see. Kazunori Ito writing the screenplay, Masami Yuki doing the character design, and Akemi Takada handling costume designs. The additions, they've got additions, and of course the original Ingram Pat Labor,
Yes.
8 meters tall. And you know how you can tell that we live in the stupidest timeline? You know how you can tell?
No.
It's the year 2024, and we don't have our 8-meter tall Pat Labors.
We don't have any Pat Labors.
They had them in the 90s.
Yeah, they had them in the 90s.
Them.
Yes, they had them in the 90s. We don't have them now. I think someone built a realistic, like, fake one in Japan, but it's like, but I want a real one. I want...
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a thing in the future. This is what I like. This is what I used to love about anime back in the day when it was all about all this near future stuff. And it's like, yay, it's like, this is what's going to be around in 20 years, all the futurism. And I'm not saying they don't still do that. I know they do a lot more with fantasy type series now. But of course, my brother would argue Overlord is still a future series since it's about a guy living in a dystopian future that got stuck in a game, I think, right? So,
Overlord
maybe we just need
so
to get
good.
Elon Musk into anime.
He's thinking about getting into video games, so let's not overtax him.
Hey, real quick, let's thank Space Fraggle for the gifted membership that went to Jeff B, who isn't. I don't think he's here in the chat right now, but he is he's been here in the past, and I know that because I'm subscribed to him. And
So am I.
and so thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And make sure you're subscribed to Brandon the Anime Guy. Link is pinned to the top. And make sure you're subscribed to Aged Boomer. Come on. You hear him on our channel all the time. He's our partner, our friend, our brother, and he is woefully undersubbed. He needs to get monetized. He needs to have those cool emojis, those geezer emojis.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
But
would be a little tractor.
A little tractor, and a little old guy with a white beard.
there we go. Yes. But yeah, I don't know. I've been talking about Troy says he's never been into the anime himself, though, right? But you were talking about Battle of the Planets.
Dragon Ball Z, but that's
yeah. We watched some Dragon Ball Z back in the '90s. My really only experience with anime was like back in the '70s when they were doing the American version of Japanese cartoons. The what's his Speed Racer and Battle of the Planets. I never saw them in their original form, so I may have to go and seek those out.
High Dive. High Dive they have both Team Science Force Ninja Gatchaman in its original Japanese, or you can watch it with the English dub, but as the Gatchaman, as opposed to the Battle of the Planets. Or you can watch the Battle of the Planets version with whatever that robot thing was in it. They have both.
I do have a special affinity for Seven Zark 7 because of the Casey Kasem voiceover. But now that actually does make me have to ask it, because you brought it up. I got to ask you, dub or sub?
In this day and age, it's got to be subtitled. Most of the English voice acting is... It's like listening to a cat scratch up against chalkboard constantly.
I kind of
all
tend
the
to
time.
agree, yes.
That and either they don't have enough time to fully get the role that they're taking on, which is possible, or they just don't care. But when you listen to the original Japanese voice actors or actresses versus the English variety, there's no competition most of the time. Now, there are exceptions, but they are pretty few and far between. Let me give you an example of one fairly recent. There's a show that happened during the summer called Aaliyah Hides Her Feelings in Russian, where this character, she's half Japanese, half Russian, and she speaks Russian. Russian's her first language. Japanese is her second. And of course, in the anime, she goes to Japan because that's where her family moved to. When she wants to hide her feelings about this boy that she likes, she speaks in Russian. And the person that they have doing the voice acting in Japanese is a half Japanese, half Russian gal. And she speaks fluent Japanese and fluent Russian.
Wow.
All I will say is when you hear her speak in Russian, it's like, oh, I'm melted. Take me away. Do what you want to me. Now, I will say this. In the English dub, they have the same thing. The gal that does the English dub also speaks fluent Russian.
Good.
Oh, okay.
So it definitely has, it's one of those times where they have the right consistency. The problem is, after hearing the Japanese voice versus the American English voice, it doesn't work. There's just something about it just doesn't fit. And the rest of the people that do it doesn't work either. So yeah, it pretty much you have to do most things subtitled these days. Yeah. And I know that for some people, like my wife, she can't read stuff on the screen fast enough. So I get that.
Here's what it is. I had to, back in the day, start watching things with subtitles because back in the 90s, especially with some of those manga entertainment releases, the dubs were atrocious, adding every F-bomb or cuss word in the book, which is not in the Japanese version. It'd be one thing if the Japanese version had all that stuff in it, but that's not in it. It was very inconsistent, so I just started getting it just for accurate translations. Later on, I mellowed a little bit on English dubs, but I think like you, I'm back to being hardcore subs. I remember, I'll say this, and maybe you'll disagree. I thought the Death Note dub the actors they got for El and Light were actually rather good. They actually had one of the actors from Battlestar Galactica do the voice of El, which I thought was impressive. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that one works.
yeah,
But as I said, if you got a show that's set outside of Japan, it's a little easier to have the English dubbing. For example,
right.
Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate. It's set in Great Britain and in Europe in general. It's a little weird hearing the Japanese voices for these, Anglo-Saxon and Italians. Or in the case of Father Anderson, hearing his either Irish, probably more Irish more Irish type of accent in Italy it's interesting. I prefer the dub for that series because the people that they got are fantastic. And the sun, yes, and of course Team 4-Star just rips it up one side and down the other, and just they perfect it. They took it to perfection.
I remember, yes, I remember that because because there was a bit of infighting, even though they're fighting against vampires. I guess the Church of England are what's sponsoring the Helsing organization versus the Vatican that does not like the Helsing organization because they work with a vampire and they say don't do that. And I remember that.
Protestants.
Basically, yeah. And then I remember the one woman says, "Get them out of here. This is a Protestant country," when referring to England. And it was just this. You get this little religious infighting, which I thought was interesting.
Oh yeah.
And I remember one time, what was it that one Father Anderson, he made it? Don't we have people for that or something? When he was yelling about someone blowing something, I was like, is he talking about the IRA? What was he talking about?
Probably.
And it was just,
probably.
Oh yeah, you might get a kick out of Hellsing, Troy, if you ever watch an anime. You might, if you like vampire stuff. It's a good
you've pitched it to me before, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
this Hellsing Ultimate, there's two versions of Hellsing. There's the original TV series, which came out right as the manga was going, but it wasn't as far along, and they went and did their own thing.
They strayed. Yeah.
Ultimate is the manga. Get the manga, get it in hardback, get the 3-volume collection. It's fantastic. Get Ultimate. And then go to YouTube and watch Team 4-Star, because it's basically the same thing. They just take it to the absolute absurd extremes. Right. And I love it so much. It's so funny. But yeah, it's out of all the limited run series, the Hellsing Ultimate is the best. By far the best. I want to say hello to Dante's Rant Room. Dante, good to see you. Lester.
Hey.
Lester's a channel member of mine also. It's good to see you. It's good to have everybody here.
Hello, Dante.
Yeah.
I've watched a bit of Ultimate. It's one of those things I always meant to add to my collection. I have the original Hellsing in my collection, but I was waiting, frankly, for a set of them to come out, which I guess maybe there has been since it's been released. I just
there's the Blu-ray release for it, but I know that with Hellsing, the manga, it is getting an updated release besides the omnibus, massively huge hardbound books. So that is getting a new manga release, and I wouldn't be surprised if they would eventually do a steelbook, because this particular series, the Ultimate, started almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, they were working on it a little bit at a time, as I recall, right? Yeah. Or maybe I'm mistaken.
The first 4 episodes. Well, the thing about this particular one is this was done by 3 studios. The original studio that did it, oh crap, who did the first 4? I think Pioneer or ADV had it originally, but they went under. So it moved over to another studio for the next 2 episodes, and then the last ones were done by another studio. It's been a while since I've looked at it. But
was Madhouse involved?
Probably.
Feels like something they would have been involved in, but I could be wrong.
Madhouse, Graphinica, State Light. Those are the studios that handled it. And I want to say Madhouse was the last one to handle it. I think they're the only one that's still around. So they had to really work to keep the continuity to it. Because, it took 6 years to get all 10 of these episodes out. So.
There's been so much anime over the years. I'm trying to remember. I remember feeling lucky that I had the original Black Lagoon set that came out. I mean, I'm maybe the later version. Did Funimation put it out later? I
They
had
probably
I had
did.
the people who had it before I had their set because I tend to do. I used to buy a lot of anime from the Right Stuff. You remember the
Mhm.
Right Stuff, right? Probably.
Hmm.
Small Midwestern anime company. Anyway, but to get free shipping, you had to spend over $50. So I would always end up buying more than I planned to because I wanted to get a certain set. So I have the original ADV Evangelion box set, which I never actually
Yes.
watched, but apparently that's a collectible because they got rid of the Fly Me to the Moon ending in their later releases because they couldn't afford
Yeah,
the
that's
rights
highly
to the music.
collectible.
Yeah,
Ever since, oh crap, it's not Hideki Anno. Oh crap, who's the creator of Evangelion? Massively depressed all the time. I guess he finally
yes,
got over his depression, and that's why there's been like 5 different attempts to yeah, Hideki Anno.
right.
Yeah, for this one, if you're gonna watch it, you have to watch the original. You cannot do the others. Although I'm one to talk because I've never seen it.
Neither
To
have
this
I.
day, I refuse to watch. I have never watched any Evangelion. None
I
of it.
think the fan base got me angry, and I didn't want to touch it. And that's nothing against the anime itself; it might be fine, but it's one of these things I'm always planning to watch, but I just never get around to it. I have a few like that. Elfen Lied I own, which people say, "Oh, that's very dark. You should watch
Oh, it is dark. I've never seen it either.
that."
Okay, so here's the question: Misato, Asuka, Rei, or Ritsuko?
All right.
I would have to go Misato because of because of
I
one
thought
thing.
you were ordering
I'll-
Chinese or something.
Yeah.
Are they the
These-
characters from Evangelion?
Yeah, they're the characters from Evangelion.
Oh, the German girl, probably. The
Yep,
okay,
Misato
yes.
Katsurugi.
Okay.
And
The
the reason why I
redheaded
would
one,
go,
yes.
the reason why I would go for her, if I'll share it here because it's quite funny, and if you understand, if you understand the reference for this, you'll probably think it's funny. So if you'll share it, it's ready to go.
Mhm.
Oh, one sec. Why is this not going back to my thing? No, because I'm clicking on the wrong thing. That's why. There we go.
Sixion!
Yes. Oh boy. Yep. Yep. It's funny. I was on another channel, Mr. Matchstick's channel. We did a. I think. Did we do a rewatch? No, we did a discussion about the entire original Gundam series, the classic UC series, and we would watch it a bit at a time, and that was.
Yep. Yeah, UC Gundam is good. And this is another series that I've tried to get into, but it's so hard.
Just if you want to chill out and just not worry about, just watch the original series and nothing else. Just the original one that was broadcast in the 70s. If you don't watch anything else after that, you're fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I did
because
try
it's-
to watch Wing, and I like it, but I don't like it enough to binge it.
See, Wing,
So-
I was addicted because back in the 90s when we couldn't afford anime tapes or whatever, they were showing that on Cartoon Network. So I got into it and I became obsessed with the politics of it because it's this near future
Oh yeah.
and it's the Earth versus these colonies in space, human inhabited colonies, and they're having a bit of a tussle. And I could see it being like a future scenario. So it fascinated me, and that's what gets me on Gundam is the politics, sort of how Game of Thrones reeled me in back when that was really popular. If you involve politics and things,
I have to interrupt for one sec.
Mhm.
Today is Jesse Guajardo's birthday.
Oh,
Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Okay, continue.
I don't think we can sing in the song though because that's a.
Actually, it's public domain.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
It better be public domain after all these years.
Yeah, it's over 100 years old.
I'm trying to think though. The first anime, well, I know I've seen anime even before then, but the first one that made an impression on me was the original Akira when my friend showed it to me on VHS
Yes.
back, I believe, in 90. It might have been in 90 or 91. It was 91. He got the VHS tape, and I was horrified by it.
Oh yeah.
Because I wasn't
Akira
used-
is rough.
This is not something you show someone who wants to get it. This is not your first anime. Show a Ghibli movie or something a little less, violent.
All right.
And just, yes.
The way that I first watched Akira, I had a friend of mine who had an older brother, and he dumped money into laser discs and was not afraid to spend money on getting laser discs. So I watched Akira on Laserdisc.
Oh, that was the Criterion edition of Akira.
Yeah.
Criterion released Akira. If any of you are Criterion aficionados, unfortunately, they don't have the rights to it now. Back in the later days, Criterion put Akira out. They never put out an anime since then, but they put it out back then. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Now, here's a little piece of history and quiz. What U.S. channel had the rights to air Akira originally?
I don't think it was Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi got a lot of other... It was?
It was.
Okay, because I know Sci-Fi Channel had a lot of the other streamlined pictures. I guess they got Akira as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. They were big into all the streamlined picture stuff. And actually, I found it. The 1996 Sci-Fi Channel Akira promo and premiere feature intro on YouTube.
Oh,
These
wow.
are so fun to watch and to go back to because Sci-Fi Channel knew how to do a promo. So let me get this shared because we can watch this without a problem.
I remember their Vampire Hunter D promo.
Yes.
Back in the day. Yes.
That was a good one. So here is
I
the
love
Akira.
these. Troy, this might look familiar to you, the old Sci-Fi Channel promos.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love
All right,
old school
go
Sci-Fi
and
Channel.
play that.
There were certain things that I lived for when I was a teenager in the 90s. MTV, even I loved Beavis and Butthead. I loved the Headbangers Ball. I loved all that.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
Here we go.
MST3K.
Oh yeah.
You are watching the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, forgotten about this.
A city on the edge of insanity. A biker gang out for blood. A punk kid with a chip on his shoulder. Scientists, soldiers, and politicians fighting for control of a force beyond human comprehension, known only as Akira. Everyone ready? The apocalypse is about to begin.
The
Our Sci-Fi
apocalypse.
Channel premiere feature, Akira.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot when I was talking about my background with my limited background with anime. I have seen Akira a couple times. Yeah.
Okay, so you did see it. That was I think that one made the convention circuit during Star Trek conventions. They would show that sometimes, right? Yeah.
Oh.
I remember one of the posters for Akira. I think it was when Pioneer released it, and I loved the poster, how it said on top, "The end of the world was only the beginning."
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, the
Oh,
versions
yeah.
of this that I have two releases.
Mhm.
Let me actually grab them. I might go on camera. Hold on just a second. Hold on. Let's see if I can get them out without destroying everything else.
I have versions of it too. Just saying. In fact, I used to have the soundtrack. I used to have two versions of the soundtrack, and I gave one away. One got destroyed in the flood. I had to buy another version of the soundtrack. Ended up getting the English version that was made, shipped over in England, which has the same tracks, different cover though, because I was trying to replace some of the CDs I lost during a hurricane. But go ahead. Yeah.
Here we go. All right. You get me on camera. Please pardon the mess. I haven't had too big of a chance to clean. So
Neither than my room.
here's my original.
Yeah. I remember
It's
that.
the Pioneer release.
Pioneer.
Oh,
THX
this-
certified.
hello, there we go.
This one had the redubbing, which has Johnny Young Bosch as Canada, or as Canada. Now, I've never watched this in Japanese until last year.
Oh,
I've watched it
wow.
in Japanese for the first time. Listening to the original dub and listening to the redub is definitely better overall than the original. But as much as I like Johnny Young Bosch, I prefer the original dub character vocal inflection and their vocal range better than I like his for that character.
Right.
But he's about the only one that actually worked really well. The the kids and the general. Yeah, the newer dub is vastly superior and is actually closer to what's actually said in Japanese. The original dub is nowhere near it, not even close. The Big O series, I've seen an episode or two, but it's not my thing. That particular one it never was really my thing. But here's the ultimate one that I have. The 4K release.
Oh, I don't have that version. I have the regular Blu-ray release, but not the Funimation.
Yeah.
I have the Funimation Blu-ray release and the original Pioneer, the special edition that came out in the tin back in the day. Those are the two I have. Yeah.
This one's good. The 4K on this is absolutely gorgeous. So those are the two of them that I have. Yeah, I've got a few other things back there, but my collection of manga is actually getting a little bigger. I've almost got all the ones for Reincarnated as a Sword. It's one of my favorites. But I do have another news story to share because it does deal with a show that unfortunately the creator passed away earlier this year. It has a new series that has come out. Dragon Ball is 40.
Wow.
Yep.
And it just turned 40.
Yep. That makes sense.
And I have gone through 2/3 of the original Dragon Ball. And I've got almost all of the original 16 volumes that cover the original Dragon Ball series before it moved into Dragon Ball Z in the anime. But the manga is just one. The original and the Z side are just considered Dragon Ball. But yeah, Son Goku turned 40.
Oh.
260 million copies of the manga published worldwide. And of course, Akira Toriyama passed away earlier this year, and that was a rough one. You're right, Hound 3000. I don't dare show Shum the Dragon Ball set because he's like, Dragon Ball is dumb, it's stupid, move away from Dragon Ball. But that's all right.
You know, it's funny. I never got into Dragon Ball, but I did watch Sailor Moon, so I don't throw stones. You know, we all have our things.
Dragon Ball is really good.
I've heard great things about it. I had a coworker that was very into Dragon Ball Z, and I've always loved his designs too, especially with the video games like Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger and all that stuff he did.
Yeah, Akira Toriyama is just always special. He's just so good. His Sandland series is also pretty good, although that's another one that went to Disney Plus. But the game for Sandland was produced by Namco, and it's pretty good. I do enjoy that one.
I should look into picking that up. Yeah, that did look interesting to me when I saw it.
Just before Harvey got a question. Hey, Brandon, how do you feel about Team 4-Star, abridged series, or totally not marked review of the Dragon Ball series of the whole?
I've been watching some of Team 4-Star's abridged version of Dragon Ball. It's fun. It's so good. It's the same idea. It's the same story. They just take certain elements of it and take it to the absolute utmost extreme on the comedic side. Like, there was a scene where Goku is fighting ape version Vegeta. Vegeta starts squeezing him, and in the Team 4-Star version, he squeaks like a squeaky toy. And he's like, holy crap, wait a minute, you really did that? And he starts squeezing him like the squeaky toy.
I do that with Netter.
Yes, he will squeeze me too hard just so I'll make noises.
Well, I don't start out that way, but when you do make a funny noise, I want to hear it again.
Yeah, it's funny. Team 4-Star is so good at what they do. And as I said, if you ever get a chance, go to their channel, look at all the abridged series that they've done. I don't think there's one that they've done that's bad. They're all really good, and they're all really funny. So,
are you a Jun Ito fan?
Junji Ito?
Yeah.
Yes, and his works completely, totally get hosed in anime form.
Did you see the Uzumaki adaptation that Toonami Max put out? You know, Toonami and HBO Max put out.
I did watch the first episode, and it was wild and weird and everything. And then the second episode happened. It's like, oh,
No.
again.
I was obsessed with that manga. I remember I was working at a bookstore at the time, and I had to special order it. This is before I was ordering a lot of stuff online, so I special ordered the first volume, read it cover to cover. I was fascinated. I ordered the next volume, and then I had to wait for the third volume to come out. And that was like, I've had a few times in my life where I read a book and it really is a page turner. That was one of them. And I kept waiting for an adaptation of it to come out in anime form. I'm like, finally, a couple of years ago, I was excited. We're getting an adaptation finally. And then it finally came out this year.
And they ran
I
out of
was
money.
just like, oh, you crammed it all in the 4 episodes. Why did you do that? You could have done each of those stories as an individual episode. This could have been a full-length series. And just have a steady, slow build up to just, it was terrible. It's like Troy's made a point how horror and comedy have similar like beats. This is like telling a joke where you get to the punchline without building up to the punchline. That's what a lot of that show was. And I just I know that things came out, and the American producer didn't want to say what got wrong. He said something went wrong, someone got screwed. And I'm like, was it on the Japanese production side or was it on the American side? Who screwed who? He's not saying, and he didn't know if he was going to like only air the first episode, air the whole thing, or just completely vault it and put it away somewhere. You should have vaulted it.
Yeah, they decided to show it warts and all. They probably should have shelved it. Yeah. That first episode was wild.
It was better
so
animated.
good.
Yeah. If it had kept that tone, I still think they were trying to cram too much in, but if they had at least kept that tone. And then we got to episode 2. I was furious at what they did to the lighthouse story, which was one of my favorite portions of the manga, and they just butchered it. They just threw it on at the end, and it's like, no, this was a scary little development, and never mind. Read the manga. That's all I can say.
Yeah, definitely read the manga when it goes to that. And when it goes to anime, you know, I got into anime back in the 90s. Fists of the North Star, the movies that we could rent at the video store without people knowing what the hell you were renting.
And if you bought, and I remember the Not for Kids little sticker on them. Remember that with the little kid with the frowny face and the red cross through them. Yes.
So it and the Sci-Fi Channel is how I got introduced to a lot of this. So Tenchi Muyo.
Loved it. Yeah.
Some of the 90s OVAs that didn't have any manga backing, like Armitage 3 or Iria Zerum the Animation.
Yep.
They were fantastic. Or seeing Rujin Z. You want to talk about a little bit of a trip in Japanese culture and the people aging and how to take care of them? Project Z was it.
I'm waiting for a Blu-ray release of that. When is that going to happen? Because I
have no idea.
Because that wasn't even anamorphic widescreen when it came out on DVD. They need to give that some TLC.
A lot of that stuff at the time was only 4:3. It was the same way with the original Vampire Hunter D, which has had
that was 4:3. Yeah,
several releases and different dubbings and all that. So let's see. Rujin Z.
I loved Rujin Z. That was by Katsuhiro Otomo, correct? The guy that made Akira, I believe, made that.
Yes, it was Katsuhiro.
I remembered it was a commentary on the Japanese healthcare system. I guess the idea was the elderly are becoming, too much of a burden, not enough young people to take care of the elderly because of the demographic shift, because there are fewer young people being born. So we're going to have these machines take care of the elderly for us, and, like they'll talk to them. They'll be in the chair. And they're basically stuck in these chairs where the chair takes care of all their needs. And it was that's a good movie. It's been a while. That's their criterion.
Like WALL-E.
You know what? I bet that Pixar probably saw Rujin Z, because I know the Pixar guys would watch the anime films. I'm sure they saw Rujin Z.
Yeah, it's not a very long film, but man, it was wild. And I actually have the screen share of it that gives a brief synopsis of it, and this is one that you can find on YouTube without a problem. And I remember seeing it dubbed, and it's wild. It really is wild. But that's the type of stuff that they would show. It's what I got into. Got into the 2000s, got away from it for a very long time, and about, let's see, about 2016, 2017, my wife's oldest got into My Hero Academia. And I started watching it. And then I've watched the whole entire series of Assassination Classroom, which unfortunately has been banned in several schools. Middle school or below, yeah. It's not appropriate. It's not age appropriate for them. High school, if they can't handle Assassination Classroom, then there are a bunch of words that I won't say on this channel.
That's interesting. I've seen these. I work in a public library, so I see these anime come through. I've heard a lot of people check that one out. I've not seen it myself, but
yeah, Assassination Classroom was fantastic.
Yeah.
The manga's great. The anime follows the manga perfectly. When you look at it, if you take it just on its face value, you're like, what is this? Why, what's happening? Get a few episodes in, you get into the center, you get into the middle of the series, and everything starts coming together. And man, it was so good. It really opened my eyes back into it, and that's at the time, right there towards the beginning of the Koof. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm starting to hang around on YouTube a lot more, getting into this a bit. The wife pushed me to start doing YouTube back in 2015, and I wasn't really interested in it. But because of the Koof going on, I'm like, okay, all right, let's see about this. So I thought, you know what? I like anime. It's been a while. Let's do anime. And since then, I've been down a rabbit hole that I haven't been able to come out of.
that can happen.
Yeah. Although I will say that as far as the eras, so the 70s,
Yep.
80s, 90s, the 2000s and the 10s, most of the stuff that I really like is either current or it's pre-2005. Most of the stuff in that mid-2000 up until about the first half, or during the first half of 2010s, it doesn't really speak to me. And I know there's a lot of people that really like it because that was the era of the harems and the era of the jiggle physics being turned on and taken to extremes. Some places still take it pretty extreme, but not in the same vein.
Is that is that what the heck? High School of the Dead, is that from that era?
Yep. Same with High
Okay.
School DxD. Same with To Love Ru.
Yeah, To Love Ru have that one too. Yes.
Yeah.
We get these
So
things. Yes.
there are certain shows from that era that I do want to watch, but as far as the stuff that really is not in my wheelhouse, that's the time frame that I know very little of.
I got you.
And watched very little of. But let me actually share my screen. Let me show you some of the shows that I have completed, and most of these I recommend for everyone. Freyrin, Beyond Journey's End. This is an absolute must watch. It is so good. Same with the Apothecary Diaries. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. The whole isekai and fantasy stuff is where I tend to gravitate more towards. I openly admit this. I am a fantasy whore, and I make no bones about it. Fantasy, anime, and manga are my primary go-tos. So, this one came out just last year, and it toppled Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood as the best anime ever, according to my anime list.
I wonder if I know I've seen some of these. Goblin Slayer, I've seen that one. I do remember. That's not an isekai though, because that's just a straight up fantasy.
That's not.
Yes.
So, this is a straight up fantasy isekai. This one is actually set in China.
Oh,
the Apothecary Diaries. It came out the same time as Freyrin. These two are forever linked. They're fantastic. Absolute must watches. Mushoku Tensei, must watch. Vinland Saga. If you want something that's outside of Japan and set with Northmen fighting the Anglo-Saxons in roughly the year 1000 AD, that's it, and it's violent.
We want to check that out.
Let's see. Assassination Classroom was great. Ghost in the Shell is fantastic. Kaiju number 8.
I think I've seen Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, that's a Standalone Complex. I was obsessed with Standalone Complex. I bought every one of the collector's editions as they came out with the tin cases, and then I went out and I bought the Bandai Greatest Hits version also because I just wanted those as collector's pieces, and I love the soundtrack because I loved Yoko Kanno's work on Cowboy Bebop and Escaflowne, but I was excited to see she was working on Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, and that's one of those shows I will one day revisit and watch from beginning to end rather than it being broken up. How when I originally watched it was like,
I've got the Blu-rays.
I heard the Blu-rays were good too. Yeah,
I've got the Blu-ray of Standalone Complex Second Gig, and I have the 4K release of Ghosts in the Shell.
Oh, right.
And I have the original Pioneer release, the original late 90s release of Ghosts in the Shell.
I had that one too. I think I replaced it with the special edition Pioneer release a couple years later, which they still have that end track on there in the credits, which annoys me. Put the Kenji Kawai song on there. They still haven't fixed it, but anyway.
Yeah, as far as newer series goes, Kaiju number 8 is fantastic. Hell's Paradise is fantastic. Shangri-La Frontier. Now, this is definitely more modern, and here's what I mean by it.
Ooh.
So, in the near future, this dude that's got the bird head, he is what's known as a crap game player. And most of the games that are produced are for VR headsets, fully immersive type stuff.
Right.
He is the king of going through the games that are absolute crap, the broken games, the games with unfair mechanics, etc., beating them and mastering them. Well, he decides to stop playing crap games and joins Shangri-La Frontier, a god-tier game that has a total of 30 million players. So it definitely takes a lot of things with, the whole concept of the massively multiplayer online game. But since it's a VR thing, the way everything works is vastly more intuitive. But we get to see him in the game, and all I'll say is, this is top notch. This is S tier. This is as good as most any other thing. They're on their second season. They're staying consistent. Their first season came out last fall. Second season's come out this fall. This one is most definitely worth the watch. It's fun. Oh, so good.
I'll look for
so
it.
Worth it. And then Spy Family. Who doesn't love Anya? I mean, seriously, who doesn't love Anya?
Not seen it, but this one is incredibly popular
yes.
among the teens these days, especially the manga and I guess the anime itself as well, too. Very big. Yeah.
I bought part 1 and part 2 of season 1 at $40 each.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've got four of the volumes of the manga. Irresponsible Captain Taylor is one of those that would never get made today, but is so good and definitely worth the watch. Definitely worth the read.
I do want to say, I know this may sound expensive to some people in the chat. It's a lot cheaper than it used to be.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah. 2 episodes for 30 versus either a whole season or half season for 50. Yeah. But isekais are fun. Urusei Yatsura, the original or the remake of it, is fantastic.
I've always meant to watch it. It's I know that's Lum, right? Yeah, that's
that's Lum. Rumiko Takahashi's first works.
And I know that Mamoru Oshii directed the first movie from that series, which is the famed director of Ghost in the Shell and Pat Labor 1 and 2 and all that, which is odd because it's not really his wheelhouse, it looks like, but I guess he did the first movie for those, yeah?
Yeah. All these shows, I said, every one of them here is within the past 5-10 years. But these ones came out in 2022 and 2023. The remake is basically like a best of.
Okay.
It's another one of those things you got to watch in Japanese, because if you don't, the English dubbing's terrible.
Let's see. Do you have Shield Hero on here?
I do have Shield Hero down here.
Okay.
I have seen the first season. But,
yeah.
Delicious in Dungeon. This is actually a Netflix series that actually was really good. The manga is complete, so this one's getting a second season. This is a fun one. Basically, how do you survive in a dungeon if you don't have money and you can't pack your food? You eat dungeon monsters.
Well, alrighty then. Okay, here's a question for you. You said these are all series. Are they based off of books?
Most of them, typically, if you get an anime adaptation, It's normally, at least in this day and age, from a light novel series, so 200-300 page books in volumes, or from the manga. Or they could adapt from the manga version or from the light novel version. Sometimes there's deviations in how the story proceeds, depending upon if it's done. But this one, the source material is actually the manga. It is getting a second season. It does have an ONA, or a original internet viewed. So instead of an OVA, there's ONA. But this one's a good one. Let's see. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Don Machi is so freaking hilarious.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I'd be very careful about the women you pick up in a dungeon. They may not be actual human women.
Well, in this one, I've only seen the first season. The 5th season just came out.
I think I've seen the first season of this. Yeah.
Basically, there's a meme out there called Hestia is Bestia. And if you see the memes, you'll understand why. But this one's a good one. Mashal, Magic and Muscle. This is a newer series. It's basically Harry Potter. But it's funny. It's funnier. I love it.
I had another anime that looked almost like a direct, like, I was almost like a shameless, we're inspired by Harry Potter, deal with it. That's what they said. I forgot what that one was called, but
8th MS Team is really good. War in the Pocket, I don't know.
It's
Char's
OVA.
Counterattack is the one where he spreads his arms out.
That's the one where he wants to send a meteor into Earth. This will
Yes.
solve the war between Earth and the space colonies. I'm just going to start a nuclear winter on Earth, and all the humans that survive will have to come out into space with us. That was his solution.
Drop a colony on Australia.
He was, I mean, he's like the Magneto of anime, Char Aznavour. That's how
He
I see
is.
him. He's that kind of villain. He's like, there's some honorable parts of him, which you sort of see from his point of view, but then he does terrible things.
My Hero Academia. I love it. I know that when it goes to shonen type shows or stuff that's geared more towards young men or late teen boys, some of them last forever, like One Piece, like Naruto,
Oh boy,
like
yeah.
Hunter x Hunter, etc. And there are others. It's like My Hero, which has actually ended. The manga has ended, and the anime's got one more season left. And I've purchased all through season 5, the 3 movies. I've got to get season 6 and the 4th movie, and when season 7 comes out, that'll be it. But this is another good one. I really do like it. And then there are shows that should get a second season, but probably never will because of the time frame that they came out in. For a while there, it was a lot like Netflix. Anything and everything was getting approved, whether it was good or not. This one here is probably the most out there isekai that I've ever seen.
I've seen a number of episodes of it, at least, yes.
I love it. It was hilarious. This one was so damn funny. So good.
Oh.
It needs a second season, but it's not going to get it.
Okay. Can I maybe summarize this for Troy Netter what the heck is going on? This is, I believe, a bunch of Japanese high school students. They end up getting absorbed or sent to this fantasy.
Isekai. Yeah,
isekai, sent to this fantasy world, like a D&D style world. But the one, like, I guess introverted student or whatever, girl with the glasses, she ends up getting reinterpreted in this other world as a giant spider, like a Shelob from Lord of the Rings, basically.
Oh my god!
And it's kind of funny when you see her, when it's her talking in the anime, she looks all cute. When adventurers see her, she looks like a horrible monster, like something out of like that last part of Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
And it's funny because there's one scene where she has to eat monsters to gain experience points and get level up and stuff, and they all taste horrible until she kills this giant catfish, and it gets, I guess she sets it on fire or something, and she eats it. This is amazing. She was all amazing. If only I had some rice to go with it. That was a fun one. Yes,
this is the type of show that I absolutely love, and it does have a light novel. It does have a manga that's still releasing. I'll have to go to my local manga shop and see if they've got it, but I loved it. And this is another one that has to be watched in Japanese, because this gal here, Aoi Yuki, she voices Kumiko perfectly.
Yeah, it's a great acting job, actually. Yeah, I'll say this: all the actors usually on the sub side are all very professional over Japan. These are trained thespians usually, or trained, they take it seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, they really do. And actually, let's see who the. So these are the English ones that they actually show.
Oh,
But
it got
yeah,
dubbed, huh? Okay.
but yeah, this one has to be watched in Japanese again. I really do wish that they would do a second season because it would be so funny. And then there are other shows that same deal. My Home Hero, definitely a different, very straight laced, current Japanese contemporary. No fantasy elements. Nothing outside of what we already have.
I tend to like shows like that because it shows me Japan, and because that's still escapist for me as an American. That's why I like Patlabor, even though it's science fiction. It really is just taking place in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Late 80s tech set in
Mhm.
1999. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other ones that I wish would get more. Your boy Kong Ming. This was great. Love After World Domination. Basically, what would happen if the Red Ranger started dating Rita Repulsa?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny.
I
It
got
was
that
so
reference.
good. It was so funny, but it's not going to get a second season, and it makes me sad.
This unfortunately is a tragic with a lot of anime. Sometimes it doesn't finish.
Yeah. Same with Skeleton Knight and Another World. It's a power fantasy isekai, but it was fun. Now, this one, this is a straight up comedy that's just weird. But
Oh.
this warrior princess gets captured, and every day the demon realm dungeon keepers come and say, "'Tis time for torture, princess. You'll never get me to talk." And they're like, "We're going to torture you with food." Huh? And she has a talking sword, and the sword's like, "Himi-sama." So her name is Himi, but the way that he says it, he's basically calling her princess. Himi-sama, princess. Why are you giving in? She gives in every time, but the tidbit of information that they give him is so useless. And it just keeps going. This one is actually getting a second season, and I cannot wait for it. It is going to be hilarious.
Okay, cool.
And of course, we got staples like Cowboy Bebop,
Yep.
Demon Slayer. If you liked Initial D, MF Ghost is the successor, and I absolutely love MF Ghost. It is so good.
All right.
Let's see. Of course, there's other shows that are just single season onlys, and this one is one I watched. Late last year. Overtake. It's about an F4 race team and the struggles of getting into it, and it is a original. There's no manga to it. It's just what it is. That happens every now and then, but this type of show is rare. You typically don't get a show that's completely original. You normally have a manga or anime that gets it. And the reason why Gurren Lagann isn't on here is because I haven't finished it. I've started it, but I haven't finished it. I've done the first season of Overlord. I need to do the rest. The Legendary Hero is Dead is another farcical take on heroes and stuff. That's supposed to be getting a second season. Otaku Elf was just goofy slice of life, how things work in modern Japan. But what if we had the elf shrines that had isekai elves as the shrine priests or the shrine goddesses? Basically, it's and what makes it even funnier is the elf. She's a total complete shut-in who absolutely loves all things manga, video game, collectible, etc., etc.
So she's very just stays in her room all the time. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, she's a neat elf who is a otaku shut-in. Yes.
Okay, cool.
But the manga's still going, but it's the anime just got the one season. It's fun for one time through.
All right.
This is the one where the gal speaks Russian, and it's set in high school. Almost all these things are set in high school. Just accept the fact that that in Japanese culture, they consider kids in high school basically as adults. Treat them as adults, think of them as adults, and that explains some of the things they do. So
That we would consider maybe not quite appropriate.
It's like pre-college, basically, right? In fact, I've heard college is easier than their high school, actually, because it's the high school that's the toughest part.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. And I liked it. As I said, the voice acting was great. Hearing the Russian was great. Let's see. Then there are shows that I watched them like, why did I watch that? Or they should have been better than they were. Chainsaw Man, very highly respected manga. I didn't like it.
Okay. I've heard of it, not seen it.
Chilling in another world with my level 2 super cheap powers. Great waifus, just an okay. It was okay. Farming Life in Another World, same deal. They should get second seasons, but they won't, and that's okay. And then we get into some other stuff that you you have to be. It's
There,
how can I explain it?
there was one by the people that made Death Note about people that were basically, I guess God was needed a human to take over being God because he was gonna expire, and it was terrible. I forgot the name of it. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
And it doesn't stick out in my mind, but
It was awful. Okay.
Down here are
I'll
some
find the
shows
name
that
of it for you while you're looking. Sorry.
down here are some of the shows that I watched that I wish I hadn't have, and I wish I could bleach bit my brain. This one, this show here, and Redo of Healer are pretty. Let's say they make HBO blush on what they get away with. So, these two especially I wish I didn't see. Then there's just others that were fun one time through, but you're not going to watch them again. Like this one. They're just there. They're filler. Now, this one is definitely different.
I like it. I've seen it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Saga of Tanya the Evil. Oh. Basically, person gets truck-cooned and doesn't believe in God. Well, God manifests himself to her, or to him.
A Japanese
basically-
salaryman.
Yeah, Japanese salaryman. There's a lot of people in Japan that are very atheistic, even though they'll maybe go to the Shinto shrines and all that. Atheism is a much higher prevalence in Japan. Well, he's going to die. God shows up and says, okay, I'm here. Why don't you believe in me? And something happens and God basically says, okay, I am going to send you to another world and we're going to run an experiment. That's when he gets reincarnated into Tanya, who happens to be very magic adept, also very smart because he remembers his life prior, and goes into basically a German, circa World War I German.
Yep. It's
Military training.
Yep.
And becomes Tanya the Evil for many, many various reasons. So good.
I loved this series. This is an alternative Earth, but you can see what many of these countries in this alternative Earth are supposed to be. You can tell the country that he gets reincarnated as this young girl is supposed to be Germany. You can tell that the country this German country is fighting, which is turning into World War I, is France. Even though they're not called this on the show, you can tell that's this. If someone stepped on a butterfly somewhere and things went different, that's what this all is. And I think even at the end of the series, there was even talk of an alliance getting involved in the fight, which I think was supposed to be United States.
Yep.
Do you understand? And it's fascinating, except on this world, there's magic. So he can actually... so you have these World War I style fighters, but then some people know how to do magic, and they're involved in the fight too. It's a fascinating isekai. Because it's not like it is. I guess it is a fantasy because there's magic, but it's not like a typical fantasy setting. I did enjoy this one a lot. Yes.
Yeah, I binged this one. I'm glad I did because it is really good. And then let's see what we got here. And then a few other shows. Getting reincarnated as a vending machine. It was fun for a one-time through. But,
I've heard of it. I've not seen it. Yeah, why not? And is it like a soda vending machine or like a sweet drink or something like that?
He can turn into any type of vending machine.
Any type, like little figures?
Because he was a vending machine otaku.
Okay. That's a thing in Japan. Vending machine culture.
Yes.
You can get many things out of a vending machine. Sometimes even unmentionables. But
Yeah. As far as Lupin the Third, yeah.
Sometimes less
Lupin the
than
Third is great.
sanitary things too.
what?
Sometimes less than sanitary things too.
Probably. Back
Yeah.
up. You mentioned Lupin the Third. Hold on. That might be my favorite anime character. I've watched the original series. I've watched a lot of the specials. Not all of them. I have bought a lot of them, though. I bought everyone that's been released of the specials. I've watched Part 3 and Part 4, which, if you're trying to get into Lupin for the first time, you know what? You could always watch Castle of Cagliostro and then just jump into Part 3. And I think you'll be good. And then you can go back and check out the older stuff later. Part 3 was a modern anime adaptation where he's in the blue jacket. Very good. Big fan of Lupin the Third. I want to say he's like the anime equivalent to James Bond, but instead of being a super spy, he's a world international thief. And it's I recommend it. Big fan.
Yeah. Based on the gentleman thief, Lupin.
Yes. I would argue he's underneath some of his outward things. I think underneath it all, he is a gentleman thief. Even though sometimes he acts a little lascivious around Fujiko, but the femme fatale of the series. But yeah, big fan of it because he did act like a gentleman in Castle of Cagliostro at the end. He's basically, in my opinion, he's a hero that sort of poses as a villain because like the world says, oh, he's the infamous Lupin the Third. We have to, world-renowned criminal, but he does the right thing usually in all these specials. Like I remember one time he had this diamond and this kid's family got destroyed by the Nostradamus cult because of course in one of the movies there was a cult of Nostradamus. So at the end of the movie he actually gives the kid the diamond, rebuild your village, so
Mm-hmm. He has the heart of bronze. Yeah. Lupin's a good series to get into.
Yeah.
Original one started in 1971.
That's right. I need to check that out.
Yeah,
but I do have it on DVD. Yeah.
All right, I've got probably one of the best quotes from Tanya, ready for you to pull up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on one sec. I have to stage.
Oh, yes.
Oh, why not?
Because it's a Japanese salaryman stuck in this little girl's, and I think he got involved in the military because he wanted a cushy desk job and just to relax. But then the war broke out. I think that's what happened.
And because
What's
he's so
the name of this
adept at
again? I may have to check
the
this
Saga
out.
of Tanya the Evil, which she's not
Yes.
really evil. I don't consider her evil. I don't think the other countries at war in this are so good either. So don't
No,
act
they're
like
not.
Yes, I mean
Yeah, it's
This looks like it's right up my alley.
you'd like it if you're like a World War I enthusiast. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
yeah, you would definitely get a
Gosh,
kick
with
out
all
of it.
this anime talk between y'all, it's like I might have to have Brandon back for
I
part
think
two.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. This was fun.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
There's lots of it to check out. Easiest way to see what's going on is to check out my AnyList. That's where I keep track of all my stuff. And let me actually share my profile. And if you set up an account there, you can track what you're watching. And yeah, just be sure to follow me. You can then see what all I'm watching. And yeah, that's all the stuff that I've completed that's a TV show.
It's a great list.
And what site is this that they can go to?
Anylist.co.
If you want to drop that in the private chat, I'll post it.
Here we go. Yeah, there's stuff I'm watching, either current season or stuff that I want to finish. Like I started City Hunter. That's an excellent 80s.
I want to get into
so
it because, like I said, I was a big fan of Cat's Eye, and I know they're in the same universe, right?
Yep,
I believe. Yeah. Is he a PI? Is that what he is?
Yeah. He's
Private Eye. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a city hunter. He's basically a bounty hunter.
Oh, he's a bounty hunter. That's right.
Sorry, I did just post that link in the chat. So it's my very last comment. If anyone wants to click on that and follow what Brandon's been watching.
I want to keep talking. I did see Gogol 13 in there, but we should save that for another time. That's the anti-Lupin. That's the anti-Bond, actually. The anti-James Bond. That's what I consider it, yes.
Pretty much.
Okay, I have to ask, is he called Lupin because he's a wolf?
Well,
No, I'll explain. There is a French literary character called Arsène Lupin, who was a French gentleman thief, very popular in French short stories. In fact, there's a famous one the author wrote where he actually, him and Sherlock Holmes kind of have a duke out, or something, like he goes up against Sherlock Holmes because Sherlock Holmes is trying to catch him. Lupin the Third is supposed to be the grandson of the original Arsène Lupin. It was funny when it got released in Japan. I think the creator, Monkey Punch, didn't actually get the rights to do a show about a grandson of this French character, but I think it's been sorted out since then. But yes, but he was a famous French literary character. I guess late 1800s, early 1900s, around then. Yeah, I've seen pictures of him. He's usually wearing a top hat and a monocle in the old pictures.
Okay.
In fact, I love.
Samuel Proctor, I wasn't making a joke. I figured Lupin is another word, or it's kind of like a derivative for werewolf.
right.
Well, it's interesting you said that because when they originally released over here in the United States, the Streamline Pictures, they were afraid to use the word Lupin because they were worried about getting sued by the French people that owned the original character. So they called him Wolf in the original dub of Castle of Cagliostro. So you're not far off. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
In fact, maybe there's a reason why Arsène Lupin's called that in the French version. Maybe it is wolf related. I don't know. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's where the name originated from. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the etymology of the word Lupin, and it's like, okay,
wolf
sounds kind of like wolf. Yeah, wolf. Yeah, wolf, which then most people would associate with werewolf.
Right.
And of course, I'm looking at the Wolfman right behind Troy's head.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, because on his streams when he's actually showing himself, you can see all the action figures he has behind him, and the Wolfman is one of them.
Absolutely.
Now I'm trying to think if there's there has been a wolf anime. What the heck was that called? Oh, well, never mind. I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm trying to wrap up.
I said, Brenda, we're going to have you back for a part 2 along with Age Boomer because y'all know what you're talking about and being trying to know nothing.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting.
I've learned a lot tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that every anime fan started out as someone that knew nothing about anime.
Probably.
Yes.
True.
Well, there's definitely plenty to watch. And the best part is, if you don't like something, you don't have to worry about dropping it and not being able to find something else because there's always something else.
Yes.
And the stuff that's coming out right now, a lot of it is really good.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Jessica Harder says, fun fact, Conan O'Brien sued Japan for case closed anime.
It's because the kid's name is Conan.
But it was
that's stupid. There's a movie called Conan the Barbarian. Did you sue for that too?
That's exactly that would have been my defense too. Do you own exclusive rights to the name? I mean,
I think the reason he was called Conan is because it's after Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, because he's like a little Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
That's what he is. He solves mysteries. That's why. I think it's a reference to Conan Doyle.
Okay. Well, Brandon, what you have coming up?
Oh, let's see. This Saturday, we've got Anime 101 at, let's see, what time would it be? 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And I believe my guest this coming weekend is going to be Stone Loki of Loki's Mornings of Mischief.
Wow, there you go.
Loki's cool.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I've known Loki for quite a while now, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So there's tons of great new anime stuff there's always something new, and right now we're living pretty well.
Good.
Nice. Jesse Guajardo said, Troy, I don't know. Ask New World Pictures and Steve Martin over the 85 Godzilla movie. Oh, okay. Boomer, what do you have coming up? Well, as if I didn't know.
Tomorrow night I will be on Last Call with Troy Pacelli will be well, I'll let him talk about that when we get to him. But
Okay.
and then on Sunday I'll be doing Geeky Geezers with Troy, my co-host Troy Pacelli, and we'll be talking about the geek news of the week. Some interesting stories, including a Star Wars author, which I was reading about. Also, a Star Trek short film that's been getting a lot of attention.
Yes,
And
Maybe
for good
Paramount should be
reason.
watching. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've seen
I
it
would
too.
say so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Mhm.
Awesome. Troy, what do you have coming up?
Well, like Boomer was kind of alluding at, we're going to have the part 2 of our Marvel superheroes before the MCU tomorrow for Last Call. That's at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. We're kind of taking you through the late 60s on up to the 90s, and all of the Marvel exposure that we had, besides the comics, obviously, that made us Marvel fans before there was an MCU, and that's even before Disney. So yeah, that'll be on Friday. I will be hanging out with you on Saturday, and you can tell everybody about what we're watching on Saturday.
E.T. phone home.
Yes, I
Sound
think
just
you
like him.
did. You just did. And I don't think I've decided on what we're watching
On Monday?
on Monday.
Got a dart? Just throw out the bookcase behind me.
Well,
and, pick one.
we're coming up on Thanksgiving, so I don't necessarily want to go too on the nose for the Thanksgiving week. I'll come up with something. But Monday night at the movies, 8 Central, 9 Eastern on my channel. Link to watch the movie along with us, always provided in the chat. Of course, Tuesday I'll be with Boomer and Netter over on Deleted Scenes channel for Live from Sparkwood in 21. Very special Troy edit of the second part of the final Twin Peaks, the final dossier. We're playing the audio file, but I'm putting together a visual show that you can only see if you watch live with us on Tuesday. That's 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel. That's followed by at about 9:30 Central, the next episode of Blake 7 on my channel. Again, Cosme link provided in the chat, so you can watch the episode along with us.
Yeah. Which then leads to me. Of course, I'm co-hosting with Troy tomorrow over on Last Call. Saturday, we're going to be watching E.T. over on Retro Cinema on my channel. Monday, I'm going to be with Troy on his channel for Monday night Last Call at the Movies. Tuesday, I'm going to be Deleted Scenes for Sparkwood 21 and Troy's channel for Blake 7, which brings us around to next Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. So what Troy and I are going to do is we're going to be showing movies pretty much all day. I think we decided that we're going to start showing around 9-ish. Might be a little bit later, but that's kind of what we're shooting for. We're going to just play a bunch of movies all day. We'll have a list of the movies on our community tabs and the approximate times that they'll be showing so that you can just pop in whenever you want. If you want to watch them all, just have them all playing. That's fine too. Cosme links will be pinned to the top of our chats. And you can just watch Thanksgiving movies. These are actually movies set around Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And my boss actually wants a list of those movies, sweetie.
Okay, I'll put that together.
Yeah, one of my we had our one-on-one today, and my boss was talking about Thanksgiving, and she's like, "Yeah, I try to watch movies that are like for the day." She goes, "Like for November 5th, we watch V for Vendetta because they talk about November
Right.
5th." And I was like, "Oh, so on Sunday you watch Star Wars Holiday Special?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Life Day." She goes, "I don't have that." I'm like, "Okay, I'll get you a copy." And then I was telling her that on Thanksgiving, we're going to be showing a bunch of movies for Thanksgiving. And she's like, "Can I have that list?" So I'm going to get that to her as well. I figure score some points because reviews are coming up, and maybe it'll get me a few extra points. So that's all that I have coming up to next week. Okay. We are going to be wrapping up. Just let me do my. Oh, we lost Boomer.
Did we?
Yeah, and actually, I do have to go too. Thank you so very much for having
Sure,
me
no
here
problem at all.
tonight. It definitely hit me up for another time, and yeah,
We'll do.
we'll talk some anime, and definitely watch Tanya the Evil because I would love to talk about that one. So
That sounds interesting. So yeah, I'd love to do that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we'll book a part 2 and have you back on.
Yep.
excellent.
Have a
Thank you
really
so very
great
much.
night.
Have a wonderful night. Take care. We'll see you.
Take care, Brandon.
You too. Thanks
See
for
ya.
being here. Okay. So I'm just doing my outro. So we're like at the end here. If my voice holds out because I've been losing my voice on and off all day. We can't talk amongst ourselves. And Boomer's back.
Boomer, welcome
We
back.
can't talk amongst ourselves, and that's all good and fun. But it's so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat and you're dropping your comments, questions, trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by, excuse me, miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company and having a great time. And you guys, you're not just our friends. You're our family. We love you guys and we appreciate you so very much. And you can be anywhere right now and you're here. And it's so encouraging, not just to us on the panel, but to everyone in the chat, because I know we love seeing each other. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us in the many, many ways that you do. Thank you, Space Fraggle, for gifting a membership. That was really sweet of you. And until next time, which will be tomorrow night over on Last Call with Troy Pacelli, good night and God bless.